Hello, I'm Tracey Wygal Withrow, National Vice President of Ritual and Fraternity Education of Sigma Alpha Iota. I'm going to be recording a series of read-alouds as a fraternity education opportunity for our members. Today's reading is going to be from our fraternity's history book entitled Sigma Alpha Iota, A History. This was written by K Marie Stolba. If you have the book, grab it and follow along. I'm going to be starting in chapter 1, which is called Genesis, on page 6 at the end of the first column. This talks about the beginnings of Sigma Alpha Iota at the University School of Music in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Professor Stanley was an excellent administrator, concerned with the welfare of both the institution and its students, and kept abreast of developments at other music schools. For example, when he learned of the aims of the Symphonia Fraternity, later named Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia, that was founded at New England Conservatory in 1898, he was quick to grasp the merits of such a society. And it was not long before plans were laid to establish a chapter of that fraternity at the University School of Music. Epsilon chapter of Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia was chartered at Ann Arbor on the 2nd of June, 1902. Created at first as a social society for men studying music, the Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia fraternity aims to promote high standards of creativity, performance, and music research, as well as general scholastics, and recognizes excellence through various honors and awards. No similar society for women music students existed at that time. Thus, after the Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia chapter was established in Ann Arbor, there was evident at the University School of Music a type of recognition of musical and scholastic excellence accorded to the male students that was not available to the female students. This was not by design, it was happenstance. Certainly, the young women teaching and studying at the University School of Music were aware of this variance. How could they not be? Undoubtedly, that was a factor in the creation of Sigma Alpha Iota, but it may not have been the prime instigation. There are two versions of how Sigma Alpha Iota came into being. Both versions credit the origin of the society to one woman's idea, and both versions involve the activity of Frederica Howland. This is one version. In 1903, William A. Howland was head of the vocal department at the University School of Music. His wife, Frederica, an excellent pianist, accompanied him when he performed recitals. Of course, she was friendly with the faculty members at the school and was interested in the welfare of the students. Early in 1903, Frederica Howland pondered the fact that, although male students studying music at the University School of Music were honored for outstanding achievements scholastically and musically, comparable and sometimes greater accomplishments of female students often were seemingly unnoticed. For men, there was membership in and recognition through Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia, but there was no similar organization for women. Frederica contemplated that situation at length. Not only was she concerned, she also had an idea for resolving the discrepancy: the establishment of a similar organization for the women music students at the University School of Music. The young women would call their organization a sorority. Later, it would be referred to as a fraternity, which in reality it was. The word fraternity is a derivative of the Latin word fraternitas, an abstract feminine noun meaning brotherhood, and can be applied equally to organizations for men and for women. In this history, Sigma Alpha Iota will be referred to as a fraternity. Frederica talked with her husband about the problem and told him her idea for solving it. After assuring her that he considered the idea feasible, he offered the use of his studio for some planning sessions. When Frederica shared her idea with several female students to ascertain whether there was sufficient interest to proceed further, The young ladies were enthusiastic. To some extent, this version is true. There is no doubt that Frederica was concerned about the existing inequalities and voiced her concern. But did the idea of forming a similar organization originate with her or with someone else? Let's examine the other version of the story. After graduating from the University School of Music in 1901, Minnie Davis had joined the faculty and was teaching piano there. For some months, Minnie had considered the possibility of uniting a group of the most talented young ladies who were studying at the school, particularly those who would graduate in June 1903 and those who would return in the fall as faculty members. The faculty roster for the 1903-1904 year includes Minnie M. Davis, Leela H. Farland, Elizabeth A. Campbell, and Elsa G. Stanley. Nora C. Hunt joined the faculty for the 1904-05 year. Early in 1903, Minnie shared her desire to form such a group with Elizabeth Campbell. Together, they presented their idea to Leela Farland, and all three of them spoke with Nora Hunt. That quartet then approached Frederica Howland about the matter. In a letter dated the 13th of June, 1936, Minnie Davis wrote, "Mrs. Howland, realizing the need of a high type of musical organization, made the suggestions to us that we would be the very girls to form such a sorority." It was then that Frederica Howland spoke with her husband about the possibility of forming a sorority, and he offered the use of his studio for some planning sessions. This second version seems to be a more plausible one, especially in view of the fact that Minnie Davis was elected the first president of the sorority and Elizabeth Campbell was elected vice president. The approval of the University School of Music's administration was not easily obtained. Because Minnie Davis was accompanist for the choral union, which was under Professor Stanley's direction, she was selected to obtain his permission to form the sorority. That interview was still vivid in Minnie's memory on the 8th of June, 1960, when she wrote, "I remember my interview with Professor Stanley very clearly. He was slow in giving his consent, for he feared it might be just another sorority, and that he did not want. His consent was finally given in these words: 'If you will promise to do something really to advance the art of music, I will say yes. But if you intend to be another sorority only, then I will say no.' After I explained what our cause for founding would be, music, its advancement for the art, then he finally said yes, which was a great joy to all of the 7 founders." During the formative stages of the new organization, Albert Stanley was available for consultation. He was interested, but never meddled. When consulted, he gave sound advice and offered valuable suggestions, a number of which were put into practice and are still evident in fraternity procedures. In addition to Frederica Howland, 8 young women shouldered the burden, if such it could be called, for it was a labor of love, and assumed the responsibilities for organizing the society and shaping its basic affairs. Elsa Stanley, Elizabeth Campbell, Frances Caspari, Minnie Davis, Leela Farland, Nora Hunt, Georgina Potts, and Mary Storrs. Ultimately, only 7 of them would be considered founders of the organization, for various reasons, one of which was the fact that her father was the director of the University School of Music. Elsa Stanley requested not to be named a founder. The young women realized that if their organization was to become a reality before the June commencement, rather than remaining a gestating idea over the summer, much thoughtful planning would be necessary. Moreover, some of them would be leaving Ann Arbor after commencement. They met frequently during the next several weeks, for many questions needed answers. Questions like these: what should they name their organization? Surely the name should be Greek, and since the society was the first of its kind for women, the name should include the word alpha. Should they meet regularly? If so, how often and when? What would be the requirements for membership? What about membership fees? How much for dues and when payable? What about an initiation fee? Who would design and make their badge? And what should the design include? The design should be meaningful to the person who wore the badge, as well as being distinctive and recognizable to others. Of course, they would need some special music. Who would compose or arrange it? And they should have a special flower. What kind? What color? As some of these questions were answered one by one, a much greater question weighed on their minds. Why were they creating this organization? Did they want to have a music society just because the men had a music fraternity? Was it only to solve the current apparent inequality in recognizing individual achievements and in bestowing individual honors, or was there a deeper reason? What exactly was their purpose, their goal, their aim? By commencement day, this greater question too had been answered. And in the process, Minnie Davis's idea had developed into an ideal that would affect not only their own lives, but the lives and careers of many women in the decades to come. In 1903, commencement exercises at the University School of Music took place on the 12th of June. The University of Michigan held commencement on the 18th of June that year. On the afternoon of June 12th, the 7 founders met in the library at the home of Elizabeth Campbell and solemnly pledged themselves to help each other with sisterly affection, to stand for the highest musical scholarship, for nobility and uprightness of character, and for the maintenance of friendly and unselfish relations among women in the musical profession. Then, with Georgina Potts serving as Secretary Pro Tem, the first official meeting of the new society was underway. That afternoon, Sigma Alpha Iota was born. Minutes of the early meetings were written in a softcover, bound, essay-type notebook approximately 7 by 10 inches in size, whose cloth-over-paper cover is of gray linen fabric that age has only slightly deteriorated. The design and words on the cover of this record book were drawn in black ink, with Sigma Alpha Iota spelled out in Greek. The lettering and decoration on the cover were the work of Francis Caspari. The minutes of that first official meeting of the society, dated the 12th of June, 1903, are terse and formal and commence, Miss Campbell was appointed chairman of organizing committee. Probably she presided at that first meeting. Officers were nominated and duly elected. Miss Davis, president. Miss Campbell, vice president. Miss Caspari, secretary and treasurer. The minutes continue. The name chosen for our sorority is Sigma Alpha Iota, and our motto, Art Improvement Society. That so-called motto soon would be changed. The initiation fee was set at $5 and membership dues at $1 a year. The first Monday evening of each month was chosen for meetings. A committee on laws and rules was appointed. Miss Campbell, chairman, Miss Farland, Miss Caspari. Our sorority colors are red and white, and our flower the red rose. Next, the minutes list as charter members those whom today we refer to as founders. Miss Minnie Mitten Davis, Miss Elizabeth Alma Campbell, Miss Georgina Potts, Miss Mary Storrs, Miss Nora Crane Hunt, Miss Frances Eleanor Caspari, Miss Leela Hortense Farland. The minutes then conclude. Moved and seconded that we adjourn to meet in the fall. Georgina Potts, Secretary Pro Tem. There is no mention in the record book of any kind of initiation ceremony taking place on that day, and for good reason. At that time, no ritual or initiation service had been prepared. We do not know precisely when or if the 7 founders themselves were initiated, but we do know that the first initiation ceremony was written by Minnie Davis and that she presided over the first initiation.